one. Hi, I'm Rob Hadley at the Technical Hypnotherapy Association here in beautiful Vancouver. And today I'm just going to talk a little bit about how our approach to hypnotherapy is just a little different from some of the other organizations out there. There are two essential elements to technical hypnotherapy. Now, the first is that things should be measurable, results should be measurable, and the second is that they should be tangible. Now, when we say tangible, they should be very clearly evidenced by a result in the client that we can actually see. So, for example, if someone comes in saying they're feeling just a little bit better, that's not really what we would consider a success. We have to be able to actually measure the success. Now, one of the things this does is it sets aside a lot of the metaphysical types of hypnotherapy, which aren't really our realm. Our principal thing within technical hypnotherapy is to involve ourselves with issues of addiction, eating disorders, anxiety-driven disorders, and phobias. Now, we also get involved in depression when it's very extreme, and we get involved in one or two other things. However, wherever technical hypnotherapy is stepping in and doing a little training, or perhaps encouraging members of the association to work in our methods, is really those areas which are, as we say, measurable and tangible. Now, the other thing about technical hypnotherapy, which does set it very much aside, is the holistic, and I don't really like that word, the holistic nature of what we do. So it's a really all-encompassing view. Now, when people sometimes talk about things being an alternative healthcare method, it can get into some very sticky areas. We don't really consider ourselves in that area. We're really in a much broader area than healthcare. So, for instance, if you look at a doctor who sees someone with a broken arm, they'll reset the arm, put it in a cast, send the person on their way. And that's great. Unfortunately, it's not really the business that we're in that looks at that one individual problem and sends them on their way. Where we're involved, and our approach to hypnotherapy is to say, okay, let's look at that symptom. Now, whether it be a broken arm or a phobia or an eating disorder, whatever it might be, and see where that actually leads. Now, let's just say in the case of the broken arm, the person has obviously got pain as a result of the broken arm, so there's some application there. And pain management, obviously, is one of the things hypnotherapy is very good at. But when one looks at the bigger picture, what one's really looking at is, how did that arm get to be broken? If it's as a result of a dysfunctional family situation, if there's some level of abuse, well, okay, that leads us further down the road. So if there's then abuse, where's the abuse coming from? Is it spousal? Is it parental? Is it even the children? You know, there's increasing senior abuse these days. All right. How is that person in a relationship with the person that's abusing them, and where did it get to be okay to be doing that, to be in that relationship? Let's take a look at that. And where we're going to there is a lot of issues around belief systems. It's around self-esteem, which is a very difficult thing to measure, but in terms of the actual abuse itself, it's happening, so therefore it's measurable. So we're not just looking at, oh yeah, that arm should be reset. We're actually looking at the person's belief system that says it's okay to be in a relationship, which results in, say, alcohol abuse, which ultimately results in a level of physical abuse, which ends up with someone in emergency. So we're looking back at a much bigger picture, and one can even take it further than that. One can say, okay, this person is acting in this manner and has this belief system. Where did they get that? Is that something their parents adopted and they learned from their parents? Where are they learning and where are they getting these ideas, and how can we adjust those so that that person doesn't just not get another broken arm, but actually never shows up in an emergency ward again as a result of abuse? Now, at that point, you're not just setting their arm, you're setting their life. You're changing the way they do life. And that really is the key to technical hypnotherapy. We try to go right back to the very basics of the individual, make sure that they're built on solid ground whilst addressing these specific issues. So, going back to, let's say a fear of heights. That could be a very, very specific issue, and some types of hypnotherapy would really deal with that in a very direct manner. And that's great, and that is one approach to it. But one also has to look at the wider implications and the wider basis of that, and look at how that could be worked on. Now, before you start to think, if you're in the area of clinical hypnotherapy which says, yes, lots of regression, things like that, well, actually, we're not that big on regression, and there's a few reasons for that. One of the things about using regression in hypnosis is that the fact is people experience things very intensely in regression. It's very easy to re-traumatize someone in regression accidentally. So we do use regression, but we use it somewhat sparingly and only when we're absolutely sure about what's going on. A lot of the discovery element happens in pre-talk. Now, in our basic guidelines and basic treatment guidelines, a lot of it is about how you work on pre-talk, and this is something which is rarely taught in a hypnotherapy training school, and this is why our training is so good. We really go into the manner to do pre-talk, not only how to read the client's responses verbally, but also their physical responses, how to read the individual. And this is really one of our great strengths. We're looking at the idea of hypnotherapy and using the power of suggestion in a very, very all-encompassing way. So I hope you find it interesting. Have a look around the website, see what you can do to discover some new takes on perhaps the therapy you're already doing, and we always welcome inquiries. So you can read more at the website at technicalhypnotherapy.com, and you can always reach me through Twitter or on my email account at vanbc1963@yahoo.com.